everybody, thank you for joining me today. So today's video we're going to be working on a fun sketch. I'm using the same paper collection, the one from One Canoe 2, and we're going to be using the sketch here. I really like um, the different not arrows, what are they called, like banners. And I liked how there were some triangles mixed in, and then you have a little spot for the sentiment. And I just thought, you know what, this would be a really good way to use up maybe, some of the scraps that we have. So we're going to go ahead and jump on in. I already have the base kind of cut out. Now you could leave the right hand side mostly like the bared card if you just wanted to attach the items on the left. I still like using um, a pattern paper for like the base, so that way it has something more than just the regular old card base. So our mat here is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8 with the pattern paper being 4 by 5 1/4. And then this strip here I made, I want to say it was like an inch and a quarter, something like that, but it's just long enough for the 4 inches, so it'll go the same length as the pattern paper. And now I'm just creating a little border punch. Lord Jesus. And that's going to create our edge. And since the one end, it's I did make it longer than the 4 inches. I knew I was going to be trimming it. I just left that little end part on there, and I'll trim it down and then cut it to right at 4 inches and be done. All right, so that's our little accent piece. And then as far as the left hand side, I want to say I made that strip 2 inches, and then I'm putting that on top, the little border strip, and I think I made that like a 1/4 inch wide. And then I'm going to use some of the peel offs to decorate the craft paper, since I didn't use anything extra special as far as the pattern paper for the border punch. I decided to use some peel offs, and the pink matches really well with the pattern paper that we're using. And I'm doing 3 different sizes. I believe it's sort of like the large, then a medium, and then a super thin. And I've been starting to make sure that I leave like a little bit off on each end to go up underneath, so that way it's connected, it's underneath, and you don't have to worry about it peeling up from the ends. And I think really the only way to make sure that it doesn't peel up from the ends is just to make sure you burnish it very, you in to the where it's sticking, because it's like a sticker. Okay, so sometimes, with stickers, they seem like they always want to keep peeling up, and certain ones I might put a little bit of glue underneath. I think these kind of work the same way. So I find it's best, like, if you can put it underneath something, so then that way you don't ever have to worry about that, I would highly suggest it. So now what I did was, just then I measured half of the little square, and then from each end to create my triangle. And I'm just kind of laying it out, trying to make sure that I got everything that I need. And by using these different patterns, it allows to have a variety and interest, yet because all the papers work together, it all goes, you know what I mean? But I will suggest this: if you want more definition in between, then you could probably mat each of the pieces to give each one a little bit of a outline, so that way it stands out. On this one, I did it more like a freehand, just a little thin triangle, and calling it a day on that. And I'm just making sure, where I want everything to kind of lay, so that way it's very reminiscent to the sketch itself. And you can see on this particular sketch, there's no measurement, so I'm just making it up kind of as I go. And when I have a sketch like that, what I'll try and do is, if I'm going to use it for more than one card, I try to make all the cards I can at one time, or next time I go to use this one, I'll know different things like, okay, if I'm not going to put matte underneath each of the pieces, let me make sure I get my distress inks out and distress each of the edges, so that way it gives it a little bit of definition and separates it from the pattern paper underneath. Or just make sure, okay, if I decide to do this again, then make sure to put it on just a blank card front instead of on top of the pattern paper. But I still like the way it came out. But that's what the sketches do. It allows you to be able to create what they have showing, try new things, different things, and if it works, keep it and do it again. If it doesn't, change it up next time. It's very freeing in that way, where it's not a whole lot of stressing. So now as I do each piece, I'm just making sure I'm laying it back in the same spot. I want to make sure I have a little bit of space in between some of the banners and things that we're putting in. And then once they're down, I'm going to tape up the back and attach it to the card front. All right. So now we're going to trim the edge and get that taped up. And I think, yep, I ran out. It never fails. Right in the middle of the video, it'll be like, okay. But it won't take me long to change my little tape. And I'm just looking for my picky tool so I can get my tape basically put back on. And for whatever reason, I couldn't find my little pickup tool. Oh, there it is. Because I put it back where I was supposed to. All right. And what it does, it helps me separate it so that way I don't wind up having the tape on the wrong side. Because sometimes if you don't separate it right, you wind up pulling up the tape instead of it staying down on the transfer, little brown tape. So, you know, just a little tip. If you're having that kind of trouble, just get you a sharp point and it'll help separate the two. All right. So now we're going to go ahead and attach our end piece, making sure everything is laying down. And then I already stamped a happy birthday sentiment, and I decided to grab my foam tape, and I'm putting 2 pieces behind the sentiment, and then it's just going to kind of peek out right there on the side. Now, of course, they had it at the very bottom, but I'm using these pre-made cards from Tonic, and I already put in the sentiment. And if I had a strip of paper that was long enough, I could have put a little accent piece paper, you know, like on the inside. But for now, I just stamped a sentiment in there, a little happy birthday sentiment, and this card is done. Like I told you, I'm trying to be better at making sure I have something on the inside of the card. And you may not see me do that part on camera, but I will definitely, you know, open them up and show you if, you know, I do get that done. All right, so I did this one here. And then off camera, I did a green version. Kind of in the green families. With little accents of pink and yellow. And it was fun. So here are the close-ups. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. Make sure you hit the like, subscribe, and share button. And of course, I will have links to previous sketch videos. And if you go to scrapbookingwithme.com and you go to checkout, use my coupon code TT15 to get an additional 15% off on all items that aren't already discounted. So if they're having a sale, you won't be able to use my code on it, but if you got other items, those would get the discount. Okay, so thank you guys so much, and I hope you have a great day.